Good afternoon. Let me thank the Municipal League as well as the Stennis Institute for putting this together. It's very important that you have an opportunity as leaders of all of our municipalities and townships to have us come before you. And let me just say to you that transportation is the connecting factor or ingredient that connects our communities and make it work. We here in Mississippi have had a great success story in recruiting the industry, such as England many years ago, recently, Continental Tire, Nissan, and Toyota. But if we have all of those industries and we have local communities who we cannot get our goods and commerce to and from, then it doesn't matter, because eventually those industries will leave us. I'm Willie Simmons, the Senate District for Central District Transportation Commissioner for the Central District, and I'm running as a Democrat. But I will say also to you that as we drive our highways and bridges, I'm more than sure none of you have ever seen a sign on any of the highways that says, I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican. They say we have roads and bridges that needs attention. And that's the kind of commissioner that I'm going to come to you with. I have served in the state Senate now for 26 years. In the past 10 years, I have actually been the chairperson of the subcommittee on appropriation responsible for putting together the $1.2 to $1.4 billion that the Department of Transportation received, depending upon the amount of money that you get from the federal government. Of that, about 56 to 57% of it comes from the state, user tax. The other come from the federal government. So here in the state of Mississippi, we put in about a little over half of the money that we use for our roads and bridges. Recently, we, the Senate and the House of Representatives, went into a special session, and I think we did some good. What we did was very important because we put together an infrastructure system. And one of the things that many of you have advocated in the past is a tax diversion, which we have shied away from because we say that it ought to be optional at the local level. So at our level, we have shied away from that. But in the special session, we took part of the infrastructure program that we put together, and I was very much a part of that. And we decided that the user fee that was going to be generated from the internet sale tax and other funds, we was going to send that money back to the local community. So we put $50 million out to the municipalities like you. That was very good. But when you put the $50 million in, I think there were probably about 7 municipalities who may receive over $1 million. That's going to be multiplied times 10 over the next 10 years, so you will get that. But even that amount of money is not adequate. I stand before you as a Transportation Commissioner saying to you that we looked at it in 2013. I chaired the committee, was the co-chair. We realized at that particular time that we needed about $3.5 billion to take care of our infrastructure, roads and bridges. We also had the MEC to take a look at it. They came back with basically the same thing and say you need another $3.5 million because the funding system is inadequate. It's inadequate because what you put in place was in 1989. And in 1989, you decided, legislators, that was going to build 4-lane highways all over the state of Mississippi, 50-mile radius of any citizen. And we did a good job of that. So we want to thank the legislators for doing that. But what they didn't do, they did not put in the maintenance monies in place to take care of it. We, the legislative bodies in the past, has been kicking the can down the road and not taking care of it. I'm going to be one of the few candidates, probably, that will stand before you because we need it and say to you, if we want to take care of the industry that we have in the businesses and we want public safety, we're going to have more monies. So I'm going to suggest to our legislative bodies that they do a couple things. One, we put in place, in addition to the infrastructure, we put in place $250 million for the Emergency Bridge Act. I'm going to suggest to the legislature, and I hope they give me a honeymoon and do what I say do, but I'm going to suggest to them that they fund that $250 million another year for the Emergency Bridge Act, because when they came in with the application, it was $250 million, but the Department of Transportation needed $1 billion. It was $1 billion request. The other thing that I'm going to do is say to the citizens of the state of Mississippi, if I am your commissioner, I'm going to do these kind of projects that's been on the table, on the board, need to be completed, and these are things we're going to do. But I want you to tell your legislators to increase the user fee at the tank. I'm going to be like Ron Reagan. Ron Reagan, who said he was not going to increase fees when he was sworn in as president, but a few months later, he increased about 125%. I'm going to tell you from the front, because I believe in being honest with you, that I'm going to advocate increasing the user fee by 10 cents, but we should phase it in. Phase it in over a 3-year period. That's going to allow the industry to ramp up, but it's also going to allow the citizen an opportunity to adjust. But it's also going to capture all of these individuals that's coming through the state of Mississippi, traveling for tourism and transporting goods. It's going to allow them an opportunity to make sure that we collect fees from them to take care of our roads and bridges. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to support Willie Simmons, the Democratic candidate on August 6th, Transportation Commission, Central District. Thank you, and may God bless you.
I know y'all tired. I know y'all was up late last night. You got up early this morning. You've been over here all day, and I know you're ready to go. But I got a couple things I'm going to tell you. I'm Joe Griss, and I'm running for the Northern District Transportation Commissioner, and let me tell you why. If you drove down here from North Mississippi, you know exactly why I'm running. We got the worst roads in the road, y'all. We got 500 bridges shut down. We got over 7,500 bridges in need. We got to do something about what's going on. It is absolutely ridiculous. Let me tell you, we're in the north, we $2.2 billion behind in our 33 counties in the north, and that's not my numbers. That's MEC and the Stennis Center down at Mississippi State. They did a study in 2013, and these are 5-year-old numbers, but that's the least ones you can get. That's the last ones that you can get. Folks, it's ridiculous. And let me tell you, we talked about a tax cut a while ago. They did. In 2016, they did a tax cut of $460 million. $460 million. You got a little bit of that, and I'm good with that, because where are you going to spend your money? You're going to spend your money right here in the state of Mississippi. But about $260 million of that dollars went to Walmart and Amazon and a couple more out-of-state corporations. That sucking sound you hear, that's your money leaving Mississippi. That's absolutely ridiculous, folks. We can do better than that. That $260 million could have went to your roads and bridges, and this is what's bad about that. Like I said, the study from the Stennis Center was done in 2013. They passed that tax cut in 2016. They passed that tax cut knowing how bad your roads and bridges was, and still gave away your money. Folks, that's absolutely ridiculous. We can bring that money home. I'm a proud veteran of the United States Navy, and after the 4 years I spent in the Navy, I come back to Mississippi because this is where I want to live, and this is where I want to be. And folks, they always talk about running this place like a business. Haven't you heard it all your life? We got to run this thing like a business. Well, I have never seen a business that didn't reinvest in itself that could make it. We got to reinvest in the state of Mississippi. I love this state. The Griss family has been in North Mississippi over 170 years. It's absolutely ridiculous that we don't invest in ourselves. Infrastructure is the lifeblood of economic development. I'm proposing in the North, you got to have a vision. Last road program we had was 1987. 1987. Last road program we had in the state of Mississippi. They don't even have a vision for the future, folks. Not even a vision. I'm here to tell you that we in the North, we need the 4-lane 25, 15, 7, and 6 from Batesville to Clarksdale. And I know you folks know that. Y'all all know it. It's got to be done. We've got to prepare for growth. Memphis is growing out 72 and coming down 78. We've got to prepare for growth, folks. If we're not ready for growth, you think we're going to get more companies like Toyota that we got in Tupelo? You think we're going to get more people like that? If we don't have the infrastructure prepared to take over that, it's absolutely ridiculous. I cannot believe that we take this day in and day out. We're Mississippians. We've been rolling up our sleeves and going to work our entire lives. It's ridiculous that we don't do this now. Folks, I have never been able to look at my children in the face and tell them that this is not the greatest place in the world, because I believe it is. But aren't you sick and tired of being behind? Aren't you sick and tired of being behind in everything that we do? Folks, infrastructure is what makes this state. It will now, and if we don't do that, we won't have a future. Folks won't come here. It's absolutely amazing that we keep doing the same thing, and we don't hold the people in Jackson, we don't hold their feet to the fire. I'll do that. I've done it before. I got 2 terms in the Mississippi legislature. I'm a certified purchasing agent in the state of Mississippi. I know this job. I need your help. I need you to talk to the people around you. I need to talk to everybody you know. I need your help. And I can tell you, I'm going to leave y'all with one thing. As a great Mississippian once said, I will never forget who I am, where I come from, and who sent me, because it's you folks.
Well, hello, MML. For those of you that have stuck it out, you're the diehards, and I appreciate you sticking around here for me. I'm Jeremy Martin, and I'm the only candidate for Transportation Commissioner from Eggville, Mississippi. Now, Eggville's an unincorporated area in northeast Mississippi. Tupelo is our biggest suburb. We're real proud of Tupelo. For the last 11 years, I've had the honor of working each and every day beside Secretary of State Delbert Hosemann. He hired me in May of 2008 to start an office for him in Tupelo, and we did. And in 2009, we opened a second office in Hernando in DeSoto County. And for the last 11 years, I've looked after every major project at the Secretary of State's office in the northern 32 counties of the state of Mississippi. Voter identification, 5 cemetery receiverships, 8 entertainment districts developed in communities all over the state. Thousands of businesses have been started in our offices, and we're very proud of the work that we've been able to do there in the last 11 years. Now, if anybody knows the roads and bridges in North Mississippi, it's me, because I've been traveling them. And there's a critical need in the northern 33 counties of the state of Mississippi for that renewed vision and an increased and long-term revenue source for roads and bridges, and that's what I'm campaigning on. I've worked with a visionary leader over the last 11 years, and we haven't just been marking time. We've been making Mississippi a better place to live and work, but we've improved the perception of Mississippi and the other states around the nation. And that's exactly what we need to do when it comes to transportation infrastructure. The 2 things that I promise you are this: every project that I vote to support completion of will go to improve public safety and improve North Mississippi's economic competitiveness. And as Tennessee, Alabama, and Arkansas are investing at renewed levels in their transportation infrastructure, it's all that more important that Mississippi do the same. We will put together a coalition working with the other 2 commissioners and state leadership, and we will identify that long-term revenue source, and we will sell it at the local levels. We'll work with communities like yours to ensure that we share that revenue with communities, with cities and counties, to take that unreasonable burden off of landowners through ad valorem taxes and spread it out in a fair way, so that not only do Mississippi's highways improve, but our city streets and our county roads improve as well. 2 of the things that we've done in North Mississippi over the last few years, we've made the Secretary of State's office accountable to the taxpayer, more efficient to the taxpayer. That's exactly what we'll do with the Mississippi Department of Transportation. And we've made it accessible to the taxpayers. Outside in the exhibition hall a few minutes ago, one of the alder ladies told me, she said, every time I called you on behalf of our town, I could tell that you were smiling on the other end of the phone. Now that made me feel really good, but she said, every time I got one of your employees on the phone, I could tell they were smiling on the other end of the phone. It's time that when you call any state agency, including MDOT, that you get an answer from a person and an answer to your question in a reasonable amount of time. We'll work on that culture change on day number 1. Now let me just say this in conclusion. In the last 11 years, the Secretary of State, C. Delbert Hosemann Jr., has entrusted me to look after every major project in North Mississippi. And I'm honored to have been able to work with so many of you in this room to work on valuable projects on behalf of North Mississippians that really mattered and made a difference. If the next Lieutenant Governor of the state of Mississippi entrusted me with every major project in North Mississippi, then here's what I ask for you. I ask for your support and your vote to hire me to go to work for you in improving our transportation infrastructure. I'm Jeremy Martin, and I look forward to being your next Transportation Commissioner.
Good afternoon, folks. Appreciate you sticking it out. We've got a few more to go, and I would encourage everybody in the back room just to sit tight because these good candidates need you here. So, mayors, some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm running to fill some rather large shoes. A gentleman in the room sitting over here, Mr. Dick Hall, Commissioner now of Central Mississippi, and I think we all need to give him a round of applause for the body of work that he's done. I say that to you because he spent 3 terms in the House, 3 terms in the Senate, and 20 years in the current role that he serves in now. So you're in a position now, as I look, and I hope you look at these candidates that walk up here in the same light that I'm about to describe to you. Today, I function off about 3 words, and that is results, no rhetoric. I'm tired as a person, as a taxpayer, of listening to rhetoric. I'm a results-oriented person, and I would hope that you look at that. This is a very key time in our state's history where we need leaders in Jackson who will get the work done in all these offices, every one of them. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I got started in the fire service in Macomb, spent 5 years there. I was recruited to come to the State Fire Academy. For those of you who walk all these booths out here filling up bags, you probably walk by the State Fire Academy's booth. Very pleased. I like to say to people all the time that I spent a career serving people that serve others. Wonderful career, very rewarding. Pick up one of the course catalogs out there. Half of the courses in that catalog I built 30 years ago. The training props that you use out there, I put on the ground. I can tell you where every one of those railroad tank cars came from and everything else on that 100 acres out there. So I spent a career out there building all of that, and I built it for the emergency response community of the state of Mississippi. Did it with love and passion and tenacity because we didn't have any money. We used our hands, we learned to weld, everything you can think that you would need in a construction project is what we did. Retired in 2005. Became what I call an aggravated taxpayer. And the first thing you get when you're an aggravated taxpayer, somebody looks at you and says, well, you need to get involved. You need to run for office. So I ran for office. So I'm speaking to you today, folks, those mayors left in the room as a mayor. So I was elected. And everything, all the training programs that you get here at MML, Miss Sherry, I was able to put together all the experiences I had at the state level and all the experiences here. I've been walking these halls for 11 years. And I brought all that to focus on Brandon, Mississippi, which I believe is a wonderful success story. Again, results-oriented, tired of listening to rhetoric. Don't talk about what you're going to do, what you think you're going to do. It's about work and getting the job done. So that's kind of where I'm at today. So I take a step to run for the transportation office. I feel like I know construction work. A lot of people know me as the guy that built the amphitheater, 10,000 yards of concrete, all the steel that goes with that. I can tell you that I can show you invoices in Brandon where we bought asphalt for $45 a ton, and today it's $80 a ton. You can go only half as far as you could just 15 years ago. All of those stories I can share with you. I want to talk about our legislature now. Mayors, I really want to slow down and say this as clearly as I can. You've heard a lot of talk about what's been done in the legislature. Last August, I sat there going back and forth between the chambers of the House and the Senate, looking at what was done in the extraordinary session. Then the legislature, we do a $250 million bond bill because we want to. It doesn't work that way, mayors. I'm telling you, my personal opinion is we've had the wool pulled over our eyes again. Municipalities are coming in on the short end of the stick, and you're leaving the Capitol last summer saying all these wonderful things you did. The lottery is not going to solve our problems. We need a long-term funding level solution to fix our roads and bridges. And today, I would say it's our bridges and roads. When you picked up and did a $250 million bond bill and said, oh, we're going to do 112 projects out here, man, we had reports back of $1 billion worth of emergency work that need to be done. I'm tired of studying things. I'm tired of blue ribbon committees. We know what the problem is. It's time we get to work doing it. And it doesn't need to be 5 years from now. It needs to be right now. And I want to bring to the Transportation Commissioner office the same work ethic, sweat equity that I did and have for the city of Brandon and what I have at the State Fire Academy. It's not complicated, folks. It's called work, and something in Mississippi we well know. Thank you. God bless. Butch Lee for Mississippi Central Transportation Commissioner.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, MML, for the invitation. It's greatly appreciated. I'm Tom King. Currently, my position is Southern District Transportation Commissioner, and 3 of us running. Elections August the 6th. We've done a lot. We've got 3 commission boards, Northern, Central, and Southern District. We all work well together. Nothing against the other candidates in the Central or Northern District, but I'm going to miss those 2. Of course, I've got to get reelected. And I've served with 2 men of utmost integrity and a Chairman Hall that was a good mentor and a good role model for me. And I appreciate his service and Mike's service. And God bless you, Dick. We appreciate your service. Now, my qualifications are, I was in the Senate 12 years, the House 6 years, and I'm serving my 7th year as commissioner. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I feel like I bring a lot to the table. The 3 of us have brought a lot. The Transportation Commission has never been any more accountable or transparent. Now, we talk about the legislature. I serve in the legislature. Commissioner Hall served in the legislature. But I'm telling you, some of that money, half the rainy day fund needs to go to our cities. It's flooding. It's not raining, it's flooding. And I feel like that half that rainy day fund ought to go to the cities and fixing our infrastructure, fixing our bridges, fixing our roads. We can do that. We gotta stand tall, folks, and do what's right. If we don't, then we're gonna be driving on gravel roads. And I'm sorry if you're from Jackson, we don't want our roads looking like Jackson, for goodness sakes. So you've got a problem, and it takes money to fix it. It takes money to fix it in the state. It takes money to fix it in the cities. And we've got to have more money. And it has to be a long term. Our money does not come from a sales tax or an ad valorem tax. We don't get $1 from the legislature. Our money comes from fuel tax and the federal government, which supplies 51 to 53% of our monies. And that's a lot. If the feds, federal highways took our money away, we really would be in bad shape. I had a guy the other day ask me, hey, Tom, why don't you take that old federal money? Man, I'm going to take it every day, all day. My goodness, if we don't take it, Louisiana take it, and New York minute. So it's monies that we earn. Federal money we've all paid in the federal taxes. It's our money. Why not take it? It's working. It works, and it does a good job on our infrastructure. Now, the things that we've done since I've been commissioner, we've cut the travel state employees 37%. In state, out of state, we've cut it 47%. We've cut a lot of things. We've cut our vehicles down to 13%. So we work well together. And if I'm reelected, I hope we can do the same and have the same same togetherness and teamwork that we've had in the past. We've had with the other 2. But we'll do the best we can under the circumstances and work well together. And that's what it's all about. And that keeps things going and moving. And that's what it's all about. I feel like we'll continue to do the best we can under the circumstances. I ask you that you vote for Tom King, August the 6th. There's 3 of us running. It's a Republican primary. Thank you very much. God bless you, and thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. I'm glad that you have hung around a little bit this afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, MML, for giving us a platform to come and share our vision. I'd also like to thank Mayor Fofo Gillich for having such a great place here in Biloxi for us to come to. and also the incoming president, Mayor Billy Hughes. I appreciate his support. He endorsed me right in the very beginning of this race. He understands how important it is to have someone who's going to come up and fight for South Mississippi. I've traveled over these 27 counties. I've been from Natchez to Seminary to Lucedale to Leakesville, Pascagoula, Ocean Springs, Goshen. And one thing is a common thread is we need leadership in South Mississippi. Give you a little information about me. My first elected service was as school board member in Picayune, Mississippi. Served there, then I was elected to the Mississippi State Senate, where I served for one term. I came home to Poplarville, and I currently serve as a Board of Alderman. And I'd like to recognize my mayor, Rossi Creel, and one of our aldermen, Russell Miller, here supporting me today. Thank you for being here. One of my most proud moments of my life is also I'm a small business owner. I've been a small business owner for over 30 years. While I was in the restaurant business at college, I bought my first restaurant, and me and my wife, we have successfully operated that now for about 34 years. Me and my wife have actually been married 34 years. I have 3 beautiful daughters, and they're very productive and very proud of them. You know, you've heard a lot up here. One thing I do know after hearing some of these candidates from the North and Central, we need a strong voice for South Mississippi. We've got some very energized candidates from the North and the Central. I too also favor a long-term financing of our infrastructure. We've got to come up with a plan that's going to work, and we've got to sell that to the legislature. Here's what I believe are some important traits for the next Transportation Commissioner. You've got to be committed to this job, and you also have to have a passion. You've got to get up every morning, go to work. You've got to go see your mayors. You've got to see your board of supervisors. You've got to understand the needs of the communities. You also have to be a good communicator. Many times, and I believe as a legislator, the message was not communicated well. I believe we need to sit down with our governor, lieutenant governor, our committee chairman, and we need to explain to them the actual situation that we're in with the MDOT. You also have to be able to be a quick decision maker. You've got to have those capabilities. When something emergency arises, you've got to be able to make that decision quickly. We've got to get these projects done in a timely manner. There's some bridges in South Mississippi, Highway 57, that's been out for over 2 years. That's a main thoroughfare. It's a hurricane evacuation route when it's in operation. And it's also the economy strives there because we have workers coming to Ingalls and to Chevron and to the Jackson County area. Another area I think that's very important is to the taxpayers of Mississippi. You've got to be accountable. You've got to be able to explain where your money is going and why there is a need for additional money. You know, MDOT as a whole has a terrible image. The people in Mississippi see a lot of waste is what they see. I'm not saying that's the actual facts, but that's what they see. As your commissioner, I want to be able to bring that new image to our taxpayers in Mississippi and help them understand why we need what we need and when we need it. Also, after talking to many employees within MDOT, I believe that we need to allow them the creativity. They need to think outside the box. They have innovations that they would like to see brought forward. And I think we need to encourage those employees of our department to feel comfortable in offering solutions that they may be aware of that maybe are outside the box. And I think we need to be willing to do that. Lastly, what I would just like to say to the mayors, the boards of supervisors, the aldermen, I'll be a strong voice for South Mississippi. I'm going to come and see you. I will be around the district. I'll return your phone calls, and I'm going to be somebody that you have a relationship with. So when we do talk, it's not going to be a random discussion. I want to know what's going on in Leakesville, Mississippi. I want to know what's going on in Goshen, Biloxi, Gulfport. There's some things that we have got to do. And what I promise you as your commissioner is that I will work hard. I will get up and come to work, and we will move Mississippi forward. And I need your commitment to me. I need your help. My name is Tony Smith. I'm running for Southern District Transportation Commissioner, and I am running in the August 6th primary, and it would humble me very much if you would support my candidacy. Thank you very much.
Whew, thank you for having me. Again, my name is John Caldwell. I'm running for Transportation Commissioner of the Northern District. You can sum up this campaign into 4 simple words: better roads, better jobs. I really think it is as simple as that, and we will put the most experienced, conservative leadership to the test. I appreciate y'all staying. You know, this particular race, we're going to have at least 2 new commissioners because of the ones that have decided to step away. And so this is going to be nearly as important as the governor's race. So I appreciate y'all hanging out because we could make a difference. And if I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be in this race. I was a county supervisor for a couple of terms, and I remember a man, Mr. Enoch Baker, called me and he said, "Caldwell, I got a dead cow." So Mr. Baker, the auditor, I wish Shad White was still here, but I was a little bit on the borderline. So Mr. Baker, you know, we're supposed to get a veterinarian certificate that says it's communicable disease before we can take care of your dead cow. He said, "I don't need a veterinarian certificate. The cow's been dead for 3 days. He's bloated." So Mr. Baker's about 90 years old. I'm dealing with him, and a few years later, he's in his mid-90s, and he calls back and says, "Caldwell, I got another dead cow." So, Mr. Baker, let me try this a different way. It's supposed to be a community problem before we can do anything to help you. He said, "If I leave this dead cow here long enough, it'll be a community problem." I said, "Yes, sir, we're going to take care of you." So I'd call the assistant road manager again. I said, "Can you make that legal, moral, and ethical and take care of Mr. Baker?" "Yes, I can." And now for the cities, Mr. Baker's farm got annexed by the city, and his nephew was the mayor. And a little while later, Mr. Baker calls and says, "Caldwell, I got another dead cow." I said, "Mr. Baker, that's fine, but you're a city slicker now, and you need to call the mayor." And he said, "I already called the mayor, and he won't help me." So his nephew said, "Call the supervisor," and we took care of him. And the point is I have been a county supervisor, I've been a local official, and I know what it's like to try to get things done. And we can get things done in the small ways, and we can get things done in the big ways. I've done it with roads. We've built roads ourselves. We've contracted out for roads. I've driven the roads as a CDL driver, 14 years in transportation industry after being a supervisor. And I've been 32 years with the Marine Corps. And so leadership is in my history. And certainly, last but not least, a lot of people say, "Well, you know, you're a Marine and you need to give more Marine stories." And I said, "Well, you know, it's kind of hard. I'm not really running to be a colonel in the Marine Corps. I've been there, done that." They said, "Well, just tell us about the first time you got shot at." I said, "Well, I would, but that was in Memphis, Tennessee, and it's not quite the same." And so that's my background. I've been in leadership. I've been conservative. I've had the experience in roads. I've had the experience in transportation, and I really think I can offer something to the mix, and I appreciate your vote. If you're in the Northern District, we got a Republican primary with 5 candidates. I'm one of the 5, and we have we'll go all the way to November, so I appreciate your vote. Thank you very much. John Caldwell, Northern District Transportation Commissioner. Thank you.
My name is Marcus Wallace. I am a candidate, Democratic candidate for Transportation Commissioner for the Central District. I am currently in my 2nd term as mayor of Edwards, Mississippi. I have owned a construction firm. I have one of the largest minority construction firms in the state of Mississippi. And in '96, I started out with a pickup truck and a ladder. And I'm blessed to tell you all that from '96 to now, my company has generated over $60 million in revenues. Before I go into detail about my platform as Transportation Commissioner, I want to give you a little personal testimony as well. One of my prized possessions is I have 3 kids, and about a month ago, my last child, which is my son, graduated from college. So I've been blessed to put 3 kids through college, one from UCLA, one from Tennessee State, and one from Arkansas Pine Bluff. But also during that time, when my son was in the 7th grade, I grabbed 20 boys in the community, and we all know that there are a lot of boys out here without fathers. I grabbed those 20. One of them I lost to a carjacking charge, and he's now serving 35 years in the penitentiary. Very upset about that. The next one was valedictorian of his high school, went off to college, got introduced to drugs, and he was killed in a car accident. But I'm blessed to say that the sun does shine on the other side. 17 of them I was able to get scholarships for, and they are currently graduating now. I say all that to tell you all that it's about improving quality of life for all citizens in all communities, which leads to why I'm running for Transportation Commissioner. You know, I'm one of those public servants. I don't call myself a politician. I'm one of those public servants who normally say things that a lot of folks won't say. Before we get to the ideas and all the new things that we want to do, we first got to dismantle the political clique in the Capitol. We got to dismantle it. I've been blessed to see on the business side and on the political side how games are being played on the appropriation side and the allocation side. If we're going to make quality of life for everybody, we got to balance the funding. Of course, we can all use more funding, but let's prioritize the funding that we have. Because you see, I have a problem when I see dirt piles at the entrances of bridges, and I see county roads and state roads closed and washed away from dirt underneath. But then on the other hand, I see bridges being built, millions of dollars of bridges being revitalized and enhanced, but we don't have money to do the other things that need to be done. You know, being a small town mayor, I can stand here and tell you all that small town and rural area folks are really suffering. That's why I always say, you know, God chooses us to be leaders, and the decisions that we make, he's watching us. He's watching us, y'all. And there are folks that, because of these bridges and roads being closed, they have to go out of their way 15 to 20 minutes a day, each and every day, to and from their homes to get to and from work and places. That's very inconveniencing. So we need to change that. A couple of things I want to mention on my platform. First is beautification. We got to change and enhance the grass cutting program. Some areas are very well landscaped and groomed, some are not. We got to light up the disadvantaged areas so we can attract businesses. We also got to promote local businesses. We got to keep contracts inside the state of Mississippi. That's how we can revitalize and help our revenues. One of the things I want y'all to remember when you go to the polls on August 6th, I want you all to remember those holes, those potholes at the polls. We got a lot of potholes all over the place. I want you all to remember those. I want you to remember those dirt piles at the bridges. And on August 6th, vote Marcus Wallace, Democratic candidate for Transportation Commissioner. Thank you.